the aged master of the Ushinomiya head house, Ushinomiya Kinzo. He was there in his study. The clock showed noon, but he didn't even attempt to get up. With reading glasses on his face, he stacked up old-fashioned books with elaborately designed bindings, one on top of another beside him, immersing himself in their reading. It definitely didn't look like it was for his leisure. On the contrary, he exuded impatience, crisis, as though every minute, every second were precious. The sealed room was dense with dancing dust particles, and the air stagnated with this mix of smells of various elixirs, each giving off its own suspicious stench. They were somehow sweet and heavy. For anyone with a good nose, the first thing they do after entering would be to open a window and ventilate the room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling, "Father!" sometimes mingled in with the knocks. Crystal Princess, hello! Thank you so much for the raid. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book he had in his hands and slammed it on the table. He then yelled at Kraus, who was continuing to knock on the door.
Silence! Will you not stop that noise, fool? Who taught you that door should be opened unto you if you knock? They crucify that imbecile! Do you wish to save upon yourself? Father, today is the day of the family conference. It comes just once a year. Everyone has gathered downstairs. Please come out.
Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study and hated letting even his family into the room. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call out thus from the corridor.
Molest me not! Everyone? Who is everyone? You refer to the fools trying to drag me out of here? Then kill them all! Chop them up, make them into firewood, feed them to the witch's hearth! Put a pot in that hearth and boil wormwood! And, if still there remain imbeciles foolish enough to dare try to lure me out of here, force them to drink that broth of the apocalypse! Preserve the remainder in liquor. Ah, Genji, where are you? Call for Genji! Have my demonic absinthe prepared! The whispering of the Green Fairy reaches me no longer! Ah! Where's Genji? Call for Genji! Before the door, Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who would not come out. That's the eldest son.
I don't know what kind of voice to give to that.
Give him douchebag.
Okay. Looks like he hates me to this score. My voice doesn't reach him anymore.
Kraus shrugged as though saying, "It's no use," and smiled bitterly. He himself hadn't believed for a moment that his father would answer his calls. However, as it was the duty of the eldest son, he had formally made the request.
Kinzo-san, your sons, daughters, and grandchildren have come to see you, you know. How about you show your face just a little?
I can't do my throat needs to rest a little bit. Go.
Shut up! Be silent! You dare admonish me, Nanjo? I do not call for you. I said to call for Genji. Now hurry! Call for him this instant! I'm short. The apostles are already readying the trumpets. Why do you not understand this, you foolish sheep?
Kinzo slammed the old heavy book on the table over and over. The racket obviously indicated his highest displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open, as if to sing a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled.
Why? Why is there always something in my way? I would throw it all away. I would offer up everything, and there was only one thing I would ask in repayment. Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all up to you. Oh, commanders of the Locust region, reap the smiles of the earth. Off, hack, off. All is filthy, all is irksome.
Why must I suffer this impediment on the most precious of days? Go for Genji!
I have no idea what he's yelling. I guess he's finally gotten up.
Koro-san, isn't that a bit harsh to your birth father?
My dad is already dead. All that's here is a phantom of what he once was. At any rate, as long as he lacks the will to leave that room, there's nothing we can do.
Kinzo-san.
Choking coughs continued to pour from the study.
I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let that lunch go to so proud of getting any colder. It's one of the few things the others happen to look forward to here.
Kraus spun on his heel. He looked at his wristwatch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
Genji-san, father is calling for you. Keep him coming.
Certainly.
Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, even our sense of taste will go insane from this sweet smell.
Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo looked first to Kraus's back as he disappeared down the stairs, then to the study door, and he let out a deep sigh.
Sorry, Genji-san. Please. Yes, leave it to me. If possible, don't give him alcohol. It's too powerful a habit. Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Oh, where is Genji? Call for Genji! Now, please leave it to me. Sorry.
Nanjo gave a small duck of his head and descended the stairs. Genji saw him off and knocked at the study door.
My lord, it is Genji. Genji!
Why must you make me wait so long? There is no one there, I trust?
Yes, I am alone.
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, a heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo believed that his family might try to break into his study. Perhaps someone once opened the window for some air and scattered some important documents or something. And that made him extremely upset. Now Kinzo had placed a secure lock in his room, making it so that without his permission nobody could enter, and locking himself in the dungeon he himself created. Genji, who he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that was not absolute. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even he wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, not even seeing his face. And most of the time, they wouldn't even get a real conversation. However, that didn't pose any particular problem for the family. That was because they had no reason to go out of their way to interfere with the retirement of the cantankerous and aged head. The fact that he was completely immersed in his odd research and always locked up in his hideaway was something of a benefit. They made the most of his refusal to leave the study, entrusting him to the hands of the servants, while they themselves kept their distance.
Genji, my usual. I'm busy.
Yes.
Genji headed to the corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering that they were placed in this shady-looking room, you'd almost suspect that they might be ghastly poisons. The inside of the study was filled with a mountainous library of outlandish books that Kinzo had amassed. They were bizarre old books, some banned, and each and every one of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. Of course, if one were to actually call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say something like this.
Call them grimoires!
There were candles which had been melted in a suspicious-looking fashion and taken on peculiar forms, and all manner of other strange objects, probably having something to do with black magic. The constellations covering the celestial globe would have caused anyone who knew the sky well to raise an eyebrow. The illustrations inscribed in old books haphazardly left open range from the religious and mystical to the demonic and grotesque, as well as bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, the sweet, poisonous smell that filled the room, which, to those entering for the first time, would surely be a profound assault on their senses of sight, smell, and all other senses, making them lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji, with his well-trained hand, prepared Kinzo's usual drink. If you didn't know what the ghastly dark green drink that filled the complexity-designed bottle was liqueur, you certainly wouldn't want to put that in your mouth. He poured the small quantity of the spirit into the glass, placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon, and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the colorless water was poured into it, the dark green liquid turned into cloudy white. It was created the strange visual illusion that the water had caused a chemical reaction, which made it all the more difficult to perceive the concoction as liquor. To this, he added an original flavoring that Kinzo liked, and fine-tuned the taste. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swing when he drank it, and he had learned how to make it only after many decades. Genji placed the glass on a tray and made his way over to Kinzo. Kinzo was now gazing out the window.
As you asked, my lord.
Thank you.
Kinzo had regained his composure, so much so that he was now unrecognizable as the man who had been shouting, screaming, and yelling just moments before. In that man's back dwelt a dignity and intelligence made plain simply by how he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window. Genji, in order to allow Kinzo to set down his glass at any time, motionlessly waited behind and to his left, as if he were a living sideboard. As he did, Kinzo stuck out just the glass, his gaze still directed at the world outside the window. It was just a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set upon the tray, as Genji expected, but was a motion to hand the glass over to Genji.
Drink it, my friend.
That is more than I deserve.
No need for ceremony between us. Drink it, friend.
Thank you.
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. Then he downed it in one gulp.
I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how hard I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish.
Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, my lord.
Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject who refused to put rank aside, even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. It was relaxed, like a smile at a close friend's unriddable bad habit.
We have grown old, you and I. I forgot my age a long time ago.
That I was permitted to live the life I have until today has all been thanks to you, my lord.
Kinzo gave a thin smile, as if to say he didn't need compliments.
You have served me exceedingly well these years. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many, all of them, retired in their growing fear of me. Only you, even now, serve me.
That is more than I deserve.
I doubt I have much time left to live. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. That fool Kraus squanders money like water, throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. But that, he deludes himself into saying he earned money. Ava's a slave to money, thinking of me as a hen or whatnot. As if when I die she'll even use my carcass to make broth. That dunce Rudolph just knows to fool around with women. Goes aboard the baby of a nobody.
Izumir is Genji giving off an odd sort of vibe around him. Genji is the stoic type, and there's a reason why.
Jessica is incompetent and illiterate. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Battler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiromiya family. Maria is obscene to the eye. Why? Why is the Ushiromiya blood so incompetent? Is there anyone worthy to inherit the glory I built? Of course, I know. This is Beatrice's curse. I know it. Golden Witch, is this supposed to be your revenge against me? Hate me if you wish. Run away if you wish. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. You are mine. You cannot be anywhere but in my arms. You are my entire life. You'll continue to whisper for all eternity in my birdcage to me. Only to me. Beatrice. Why? Won't you give me back your smile?
Beatrice!
After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and patted his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
Thank you, my friend.
After his almost deranged outburst of the past few minutes settled down, Kinzo regained his composure once more. The way his attitude changed was like seeing two different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living together inside one body.
And so, I have decided. I cannot stand spending the insipid remainder of my life procrastinating like this. If I have any final coins left to gamble, then I choose to abandon them all to the whims of the demon's roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk staked upon it. Like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in an ancient Japanese sorcery, to nail a curse doll to a tree. The magic power dwells in incurring the risk that it will be seen before 7 days pass. The more dangerous the risk, the stronger the magic power will be. All the various miracles that appear in myth can be called crystals of astonishing magic power, obtained through miraculously low probabilities and astronomical risks. That Moses parted the sea was no miracle of God's. It was that utterly desperate risk, weighed upon the scales of oppression, of being cornered by soldiers on the Red Sea's shores, which gave birth to miraculous magic power. Even if the same thing occurs again, on the same scope, the sea will no doubt not part. That is because Moses managed to spectacularly draw the single miracle carved in the roulette of those in power, which has more pockets than
Asugi and Nayuta.
that, multiplied together. The power to triumph over astronomical odds. Yes, magical power is, in other words, having the luck to grasp miracles. To obtain great magical power, one must bear a risk that is hopelessly great. Those who possess no magic will call this not a bet, but pure desperation. However, those who truly do possess magical power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I will seize that miracle. I will be able to make the wish I devoted my life towards come true.
Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies.
And if I were to have what it takes to obtain that miracle,
Beatrice! Beatrice!
show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile. That is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, gold. I'll return everything you granted me. I just want to see your smile. I beg of you.
Beatrice! His nonsensical yells segued into a scream, then turned into a wail. Kinzo crumpled onto the floor and clawed at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lament. Rich people have too much time on their hands, right? For real.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the family is not in his best shape. He considers it a great shame that he will not be able to partake in lunch with you all. You having assembled especially for this long-awaited yearly meeting. Gora, let the lunch begin. Certainly. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin today's lunch.
Dr. Nanjo, is father's condition that bad? Surely he could have at least showed his face.
Rather than his physical condition, it's his mood. And for that, there is no medicine I can prescribe.
Oh, maybe some Adderall might work.
I don't know, maybe a little more absinthe.
Oh, come on, for God's sake. Mood again? We've come to hear how he's doing, making time in our schedules in this damn busy season of autumn. That's just... And you got what you wanted, Rudolph. You managed to hear how he's doing. Or, do you want to take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding?
Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, even though Rudolph seemed to resent the way his father did whatever he pleased, he'd rather avoid seeing his face if he could help it. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner? Kurasuni-san?
I have no idea. You could try to ask Father directly. Although I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him.
The only one who could bring Grandfather's temper under control is Genji-san. Pretty damn pathetic when you have to have a servant deal with your own parents' bad mood.
Jessica, don't speak out of turn.
She planned for her complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it reached even Krause's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking.
His condition can't be that bad, can it? With that kind of temper? I mean, even if they were saying he's not feeling well, that'd be one thing. But if it's his mood that's bad, at least it's proof he's got some fight in him. Well, Grandfather does have especially strong willpower. But it doesn't mean that his body will always follow that. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, Grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. We have to be concerned for him.
Lunch started with the family head's seat still empty. The man who should have been sitting there was already old. And the brilliant glory that had rebuilt the Ushidamiya family in a single lifetime was slowly being forgotten. Nobody seemed to feel comfortable when the meal began that the seat was empty.
You gotta start breaking your game.
I know, I can't help it. I'm so sorry. My game keeps breaking. I don't know what to tell y'all. The Ushidamiya Family Conference was held once every year. It took place on the first weekend of October. If a normal family were to use a pretentious name like Family Conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other surrounded by buckets of sushi. However, in the Ushidamiya family, where the sons and siblings are lent great fortunes, only those that achieve success in business are considered adults, it was a conference. How much of the fortune was invested? What kind of business was conducted? How much was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or alternatively, how much would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems that topics like these had been discussed very seriously in the past. My dad called it a bed of nails. Apparently, it used to be a very serious family meeting, where one would commonly be showered with harsh and angry voices and even get slapped in the face despite being well past the age for it. However, that was all a thing of the past. By now, everyone had achieved success by their own independent business ventures, and it was on the road to becoming a normal yearly get-together. Even so, being asked by Grandfather about the current state of play was an extremely stress-inducing event. And while to us grandchildren it was nothing more than a simple meeting, to our parents it was a real stomachache. The absence of the man responsible for all this, whatever the reason behind it, must surely have made today's lunch even more delicious. The phrase, when the cat is away, the mice will play, comes to mind. Well, then let me introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my dad's left is his older brother and father of Jessica, Uncle Kraus. His name sure is easy to read. Kraus. After so many weird names, it warps your sense of what's normal, and you start to think, hey, what's wrong with Kraus? It sounds pretty cool, actually. Well, just like with Aunt Natsuhi, I don't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He had never been one to talk to children, and I felt like he was always talking with adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. From the way my dad talked about him, it seemed that he used to be a pretty spiteful and unreasonable person. If what Dad said is true, he used to be very domineering as the oldest sibling, and was hated by Auntie Eva, Auntie Rosa, and the rest of the family. Odd, considering they're all having fun chatting together. Well, I guess even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and go their separate ways, the relationship changes. That's probably what it is. After all, they all have children of about the same age. Since they share similar family environments, they probably all profit by exchanging information. By exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, the parents' circle has just been deep in conversation for a while now about exams Jessica and I are going to be taking. Jessica, in order to escape the discussion of exams, the old bastard sitting on her left, was purposely facing the right, firing off topic after topic as to not give him an opening. Moving on, let's look at the opposite of Uncle Kraus and the others. In the very last seat of the table, an old gentleman with sturdy physique sat facing Kirie-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems that he's grandfather's personal doctor, a man named Nanjo. He apparently used to own a huge clinic on a nearby Nijima island, but he turned it over to his son and began living a life of leisure in his own age. He's known grandfather since the very beginning when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and they have a history of going back several decades. I thought he might be grandfather's companion in his suspicious hobbies, but surprisingly it seems that he's grandfather's chessboard. You want to turn on the light, get more energy in here? Yeah, go for it. Go for it, and I'll turn on this light. There we go. Sorry guys, we're turning on more lights to get more energy. Again, like I said, this visual novel is long. And we will take a break. Eventually, the next break, we'll take a break. No, not even close. We haven't gotten to the fun parts yet. I thought so too, and then I'm like, oh wait, this is Umineko. That's why I said this is a whole day affair. Yep, there we go. I see. That kind of hobby does seem very like our grandfather with his love for Western style. You could probably also call him the only person able to enter Rokenjima who is neither a family member nor a servant. From listening on his conversation with the womenfolk seated near him, he gave the impression of a calm old gentleman. Considering he's managed to put up with our short-tempered grandfather for so long, I'm sure his big heart is nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he is his doctor, having someone from outside the Ushiramiya family attending the family conference was a little odd. From that fact, I imagine that grandfather's condition has grown much worse. And it may even be one of the major topics of discussion at the family conference. George Aniki was just saying it too. For the past year, grandfather has been continually pronounced as having very little time left to live. It is awful to talk about, but grandfather is an extremely rich man. At the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, along with our parents' stomach acid, surely leading to some serious ulcers. With this kind of thing, the greater the number of ways must be split, the more trouble will be caused splitting it. This kind of talk will probably be also included in the family conference. Oh well, it's not like it has anything to do with us children. Finally, even though he was absent, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting at the seat of honor is Ushiramiya Kinzo. It really sucks. He gave everyone else in the family these weird names, but he himself uses one which is conservative as all hell. If only his name were written with those same characters for gold and vault, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something. That would be totally awesome! As you can probably gather from all the talk about him, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. Because I'm just his grandkid and haven't met him since I was in elementary school 6 years ago, I don't remember ever having been beaten by him, but it seems that our parents were raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should go try to convince Grandfather to come out seems oddly funny if you take this into account. In order to tell Grandfather's story, you have to take yourself all the way back to before the Showa era to recount the full tale of the Ushidamiya family. Until the Meiji and Taisho eras, the Ushidamiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills and were very wealthy people who merely had to fall about laughing while money rolled in. Incidentally, Grandfather, as a member of a branch family, originally had nothing to do with the main family. Distantly separated from the head's inheritance, he apparently had very little involvement with the head house. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushidamiya main family in Odawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushidamiya family lost most of its wealth and the family members in an instant. It then became a matter of who would become the heir to the main family, and as it turned out, none were left except for Kinzo, who was as far removed from the main family as they could. Kinzo himself later said that it was such a good luck, it was as if though fate itself had been turned upside down. With that, Grandfather's ordinary life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the wealth that the dying Ushidamiya family had almost completely lost. Of course, just because you suddenly dump a task on someone doesn't mean they can't do squat to accomplish it. I doubt the people around him were expecting much. But this is where Grandfather began to display his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family funds, and everything from the hair on his head to his toes, to collateral and to borrow a massive amount of money. Created a giant supply of funds, and immediately started a business. It was like tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes. Then, jumping onto a neighboring bike, and then another one. Just like some crazy street performance. Probably anyone would have thought that Grandfather had no business ability. But with the unbelievable amount of good luck and miracles, with coincidences piling up at every chance taken advantage of, before anyone knew it, he had forged powerful connections with the Allied forces. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were in charge of Japan. Grandfather, with a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. At this point, it was no longer luck, but information that won the day. He must have had some seriously thick connections with our occupying forces. Grandfather knew about the emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War before they happened. No, more than that, he must have foreseen these special procurements and started penetrating those markets from the very beginning. History textbooks say that all of Japan made a large profit off the emergency demands for the Korean War, but that wasn't the case in reality. Only a very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, Grandfather was an extremely lucky member of this group of winners. This all happened during the year 1950, I think? Since the year of the Great Kanto earthquake was 1923, that means Grandfather was able to revive a near-dead Ushidamiya family to a level even higher than it had been before in the span of only 20 to 30 years. With that, you'd think that he would revive an old family in Odawara. But for some reason, he went and did something crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something you can ordinarily do today. However, Grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property, and then reneged on it and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and furthermore, he had the sponsorship of the GHQ, which meant that nobody could oppose him. It seems that Tokyo provided the land for next to no money at the time. Tokyo later made repeated complaints for the land to be returned, but not much could be done due to the involvement of the GHQ, even though they'd been pushed into it. No doubt he bribed everyone there was to bribe. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and blessed with good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it wasn't all luck. He was skilled in English, and this was cultivated by his Western obsession. It was by using that as a weapon that he was able to make inroads into the GHQ. A mansion was immediately built on the island. That would be this mansion. Grandfather, who always loved the West, made this once uninhabited island, Rokanjima, a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. The Western mansion that he had always imagined, overflowing with emotion in a beautiful garden with various roses had been planted. And a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. Thank you. To have this much would be every man's dream. After that, making good use of his huge fortune, he became a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he was just that incredible. That kind of person normally gets portrayed after the fact as having the ability to foresee and predict the future or something. But Grandfather denies all that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that, with all of his dreams made real, can't help but grow increasingly odd when locked up alone in an island. Everyone who knows he's obsessed with the West for a very long time, but none of our parents really knows when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Perhaps his love of black magic began way back when he became fascinated with the West. Or possibly, his miraculous stretch of good luck, which allowed him to revive the family, caused him to feel a mysterious power within himself. At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work, filling his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. These being the few remaining years of a person successful in life, those around him warmly watching over him, feeling the time was his to spend as he pleased. Or so I hear, but no way in hell is that true. They probably were just driven away, thinking that's disturbing, I don't want to get involved. Well, that war-torn period was a time of big gambles, both opportunities and risks. I'd like to see Grandfather do so well if he had been born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities, and probably would have advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average company employee. If that had happened, he'd probably be sitting here with the rest of us, regaling us tales of his shitty boss. No, not here. In that dining hall of a mansion, we might have been around a table at some bar. If that were the case, I'm sure this would have been a much more comfortable family conference. Alright, that's enough talk about the old geezer that won't pop off. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch.
I was already sold by the sashimi salad. Golda-san is one hell of a chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the oceans near here, weren't they? The sashimi you get at the supermarket don't even come close. Hey, wait a battler. Upbringing will be exposed.
Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs.
My job occasionally leads me to eat at some quite interesting places. Even compared to those, this is an excellent dish.
Sorry, eat, go. Right.
I imagine you could have become reasonably well known. I imagine you could have been reasonably well known in a field, Golda-san.
I don't know too much about it, but at the famous hotel where you used to work, employee politics got pretty complicated and everyone split into factions. In the middle of that, he was apparently forced to retire. Great voice, you should do voice acting. Thank you. I might go into it, maybe. Depends on how I feel.
Yeah, so that's how you can tell them now.
No. It's just so happened that mom has job offers for a servant out at the same time. I'm pretty sure that is pretty sure. As Goda cleared away the empty plates, he began to recount his own eventful past, never losing his smile.
Oh,
Yep.
Me.
Me.
The world is a difficult place. However, it is thanks to this that I was given the chance to display my skills as a chef once again. This time for the Ushinomiya family. Although I also enjoy the smiles of a large number of people, it is also extremely entertaining to be able to perform delicate work in order to please solely the limited number of people I have pledged to serve. All of this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by Madam.
Goda-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsuhi. That is because among all the applicants, you were the most talented. The decision was not based on personal feelings, but purely objective, so there is no need to thank me. Oh man, why does Natsuhi have to always speak so frankly? If only she spoke more gently, she might give off a different impression. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart. Please excuse us.
Now then, let us move on to today's dessert.
Goda-san and the others laid out the beautifully adorned dessert. I guess it's true what they say when you have another stomach for desserts. I thought that being fed all that delicious food had totally filled me up. But as soon as I laid eyes on the dessert, my stomach started yelling, "More!" I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. When you dine on such magnificent foods as this, first it is distributed in front of everybody, and then the chef takes a moment to extol the virtues of his creation. Until he is finished, as a rule, you don't touch the food. However, Maria, who had no experience with these ceremonious rules, got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert and jumped into the fray as soon as it had been placed before her. Auntie Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, No, it's alright.
This one's sour! This one's sour! Paolo, the wrong one is this one!
Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces.
Wait, there's a right one and a wrong one? Alright, I'll give it a go.
Apparently, the 2 sauces were one sweet and one sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger and licked it. Whoa, one of them was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I would have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us.
Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff?
Shannon hesitated to speak. Maybe she was just setting the table and doesn't really know. She was hesitating a bit much for that, though. Did I ask something wrong? Or did they use something that we'd better off not knowing about? While Natsuhi acted as though she had a headache, Kumasawa-san, who was sitting the other side of the table, began to laugh with a ho ho. What do you think it's made out of? It'll shock you.
Huh? I don't have a clue. And Kumasawa-san, that laugh creeps me the hell out. What is it?
Don't tell anyone, alright? Let me borrow your ears. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. She asked to borrow my ear, so I leaned forward too. Their interest caught Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer.
What? Tell me! Tell me!
The sour part is, well, actually it's squeezed from mackerel. What? Mackerel? That'd be ridiculous, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding with a,
Mackerels are sour. If you squeeze them, this comes out.
When Maria started clamoring that mackerel was sour, the adults were unable to control their laughter. You've got it wrong, it's vinegared mackerel! Auntie Rosa sent Maria in a small voice while turning red. And now I remembered it perfectly. Kumasawa was always this kind of character, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me about all kinds of things when I was young as well. Amongst all of them, the most painful must have been that one. It's fish. that flimsy black stuff you get in Chinese food. Kukurage mushrooms. She told me it was penguin meat, and I went all around the school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I?
Kumasawa-chan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe now, right?
It's just a joke. Goda-san will tell you what the sauce is in just a moment. Goda-san looked a little put out from having his masterpiece laughed at in such a strange way. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us.
Well then, allow me to describe tonight's dessert. Based on the rose garden that everyone seemed to enjoy so much today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. Rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that rose garden. For the sauces, I have prepared 2 different recipes, strawberry and rose hip. Please enjoy the strawberry sweetness, the rose hip sourness in turn. Finally, the rose petals are merely decorations, so please set them aside before eating. That said, please enjoy.
Man, I almost want to applaud before I've even eaten it. It's like when you take medicine, you know how it seems to work better when you've read the instruction. You know when you're supposed to read your fucking instructions on your medicine. Thanks to Go to elaborating on the details of the dessert, I feel like he's knocked it up another notch. Seriously, should you call him meticulous or just talented? It's sweet. It's absolutely Swedish fish. He's lying about the rose hip. It's Swedish fish. The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, so we could cue from our stopping in front of the rose garden earlier today, and displayed an incredibly timely awareness of the season just by adding a few rose petals from the garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it's just sweet, you'd get used to it and become bored halfway through. But by bringing the sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. Then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth is replaced with an enjoyable sweetness again. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda passed by one of the seats, someone praised the taste of his creation.
How is it, madam?
Splendid as always. It was a worthy treat for our guests.
I am most grateful for your words. Madam, did you know? I've heard that Rose Hip has the ability for headache. I thought that you especially would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared.
Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you not to Nissan? The Rose Hip works on headaches. So it seems. I can only hope it has some effect.
Aha!
Yoda-san, I love you. Hey, later, whisper me how much compensation you're getting for this, won't you? If you're sworn to silence, you can stick up some fingers instead. Let me know your pride. Having your talent monopolized by this small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. Wouldn't you be willing to display your talent to all the customers in my company? Hahaha, Hideyoshi-san. Are you trying to recruit our Goda? How troubling. You better make some improvements to his salary or he'll get snatched away.
How long is this game again? Speedrunning it is 75 hours. Take that as you will. Yes, you really should. If you don't, it'll be lured away and you'll be stuck with 3 meals a day of Kumasawa-style mackerel cooking, won't you? That is indeed harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge. Oh, awkward family laughter. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a type of running gag, and our parents had long since gotten used to it. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerel contained precious nutrients that could do things such as prevent aging or make people smarter. It seemed that while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped preventing aging on the inside. Since she was still healthy enough to tell these kind of jokes at her age, the benefit must be the real thing. Well then, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking up plenty of mackerel dishes for you to eat, so look forward to it.
Haha, we sure will. I want to treat myself to some vinegared mackerel tonight.
That sounds wonderful. I wonder if any delicious Japanese sake will be included. Oh, it certainly will. How about some of our famous Rokkenjima mackerel liqueur? Rich family laughter. Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. Amusingly, Goda-san, who looked just as though his stock had been stolen from him, explained very seriously that tonight's dinner would actually be calf steak.
Wait, dessert before dinner?
A lunch dessert.
Oh, right.
Rich people.
Sorry.
It's like...
It's just that we've been going on this for so long, I forgot. It was still like
rich
noon.
people. Yeah.
Kumasawa-san, thank you for doing that back there.
As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa played dumb, but it was no accident that she had thrown Shannon a lifeline. Back when Battler had asked her for the details of the dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them should have been delivered deftly. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for his response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. Too fancy, why don't they just go get McDonald's? There's no McDonald's on this island! If only Shannon, like Goda, had a little of craftiness needed to skillfully shake off a mistake, her days would be a little more comfortable. This weakness was especially fortunate, considering how flawlessly she could handle her work. Of course, there were those who well understood Shannon's meek nature and her inability to remember to gloss over her mistakes, which is why Kumasawa came to her aid without hesitation. I just heard from Genji-san that there's been a change to the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. I am jealous.
Huh? I'm sorry, I haven't checked the list of shifts yet.
Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you help out a bit before your break.
Yes, I would be delighted to help.
To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants.